Hi everyone, Angelo here, Hollywood filmmaker, greatest screenwriter in the history of the world, recovering hobo, and it's the end of October 2023. My hair is growing uncomfortably, like in between where it would be better shorter or longer, but the date means that it's been just about 5 years since I went homeless. I went homeless on October 31st, 2018. I made a video of that day, at least one that I remember. I went ghost hunting with my mom in Clarendon and then dropped the news on her that I was moving into my car. She wasn't too happy at the time. Actually, I wasn't any happy. When people say someone wasn't too happy, it doesn't mean they're like, I was some happy. She was not pleased. But she came to understand that this was good for me and I wanted to do it. I had to do it in a way, but I also chose to. And I spent 2.5 years homeless. And now, because I'm at the end of October 2023, I've been housed for 2.5 years. So I've finally crossed, or just about crossed, the point at which I've been housed for longer than I was homeless. For so long, that was not the case. And I want to talk about it and reflect on it. I've been struggling to make time, which is a good thing. I'm so busy, but I also want to make videos. And it's funny how my YouTube videos have changed over the years and what they've been. And in LA, I'm a lot more reflective and just showing fun stuff about biking in LA and rollerblading and public transportation. I have been thinking about doing this video for a while, and well, here are my thoughts. So much has changed tremendously. I keep feeling that my time being homeless is something I owe a debt to. Like, it sustains me. It helps me. It's this thing that like I put in my life where it's like it'll always be there to help me. All that resilience I gained, all that discipline. I used to live so differently and I was so depressed constantly, just so deep, dark, depressed and lonely and didn't know how to get out of it. Like, I was a hardworking guy, but I didn't structure my day the way I needed. I didn't really activate myself the way I needed. And I didn't know how to treat my depersonalization, derealization, which I can now say I'm basically just recovered from. Now, I can always, that's the thing, I always have tension and stuff in me, sort of, and, some struggles, but it's the thing is, I don't get dissociated or often. When I do, it's rare, and I notice it, and I'm like, oh, I know how to handle it. In a few hours, I'll be good. And I don't panic. I'm just like, it's almost like, if you get too high on weed, you don't panic, know that you'll be okay, and you'll feel better soon. So, and that's like dissociating too when you're on weed. It can be fun, but then if you go too far or get too high, then yeah, it's very uncomfortable and you like can be jittery or have all kinds of strange symptoms. But I'm in a very healthy routine that I've developed for myself and built up over the years that I know works for me, and it keeps just expanding for me. And it's weird to have this perspective now of 38 years old. Now I've got life to look back at, and I was just so down at times and depressed, but determined to keep going. And I'm glad that's what kept me going. And it was kind of like later in my life that I learned how to function like a human being. Because all throughout, I just realized my late teens, all through my 20s and early 30s, I was just in a constant dissociated state. It was hard for me to function right. Even when I was relatively well, I didn't know how to address this thing in me. I didn't know what it was. So I would just dissociate further and further. And a mere instance of like dissociation that now I can just process and be rid of within a few hours would just last for months and months before. And then I would have my relapses where I would hit serious like periods of sickness and disability where, again, like being high on weed, it was like that. Like, you're not actually going insane, but it feels like you are. I thought I had brain damage at certain points. I thought maybe I have like what is it, like epilepsy or like some kind of lesions on my brain or something, because I felt split in half. I could not process reality. I couldn't feel good stuff. I couldn't really feel bad stuff. I was just numbed out. So, and I had compulsive racing thoughts and existential thoughts about existence and God from the religious indoctrination I got when I was a kid. And I had to spend many years on doing that. And those were horrible triggers for me. Now I can say I'm glad that they're not. If I let myself get dissociated, yes, they can be. I get the twinge of the triggers of dissociation from them. But if I know to be well, like even now, I got to relax my bodily state, sort of. I'm eating well. I didn't sleep a lot last night. I saw a show last night. It was a lot of fun. Uh, Play, that is. And I haven't seen a play in years. I was like, oh man, it's so cool to see actors like performing, their hearts out live. I don't get to see that much. I'm lucky I live pretty close to a theater now. And I just thought, I'm just going to do that. There's a big bike ride today. I could go out to Pasadena and do it. They're going to shut down the Arroyo Seco Park freeway, I guess. Yeah, the Parkway, or it's a 110, I guess. But for bikes and rollerbladers. And I'm like, I've done so much of that. I did Ciclavia recently, and I've been so busy, and I love it. I'm glad I am. But I'm like, I can afford to slow down and relax a little bit. I've been reading more. I read finally. Okay, so homelessness and being housed. When I went homeless, I was excited because I knew this was part of my dream to becoming a filmmaker. Being housed was getting in my way of being a filmmaker. Partly because I was broke, partly because I was like stagnant. I was pretty much afraid to go outside because I was so broke I couldn't spend money anywhere. And so then I was all outside. I was living in my car. So to be clear, I never slept like on the street, on pavement. I slept on couches. Occasionally I had a bed to sleep in, but mostly I was just sleeping in my car for 900 days, or about 2.5 years. And I remember some of those early desperate days, but there was like an excitement about it. Like, yeah, I was sad. I felt lonely. But then I would instantly realize, oh, I'm not really lonely. Like, oh, there are people all around me, people I know, people who respect me. And basically, I went through a pattern of trying to repeat for 900 days, like creating a better and better routine for myself, to where I got to the point that I realized I have to get up earlier. First, it was like get up at 6 every day. And then, like, whatever, I'm sure I went to like 5:30, 4:30. And it got to a point where I was probably getting up, I think, around 4:30, 4 every day. I forget exactly now. And then I got a job at warehouse where that discipline helped me, because then I was getting up at like 1 a.m. every day. And because I got off work so early, I would get off work by like noon, maybe 1 in the afternoon, the latest. The sun was still up when I needed to sleep, and I could almost never get a good night's sleep. And it was noisy where I was sleeping. There were like fights occasionally. Well, there was like one fight in the parking lot. This couple was like fighting each other. And then finally I looked out my windows because I was trying to lie back, and I see like emergency response vehicles everywhere. I don't know what happened. But I was able to get up early, keep working out, and then finally get a job where I could get housed. And it came right when several things happened at once that I knew were necessary. Well, in retrospect, I found out, like, realized were necessary for me to get housed. One, there was that final federal government stimulus payment from earlier in the pandemic. There was, I filed bankruptcy, so my debts at the time were not fully discharged. They were just like frozen while the bankruptcy proceedings were in place. So I didn't have to pay down my massive credit card debt. And then the last thing was I got my job, and I'm pretty sure I got my first paycheck by then. And so I was able to get that apartment in Koreatown. I was scared going to meet the guy I would end up renting from, because I hadn't been through that in so long. And in my head, I hated landlords. Not just in my head, I do hate landlords. But it's not just landlords as like individuals, just the whole class of like, you're the lord of the land. It's exploitative. And when I was homeless, being aware of like class consciousness and poverty and race and discrimination and all the kind of stuff, it became more real to me and more clear, and it was clearer to me that we needed to show respect for people to uh, end poverty, end homelessness, get people good quality food. We could save so many people's lives and extend their lives and improve their quality of life with just good food and not having a few companies ruining our food production, poisoning us with a lot of junk food, and not just junk food, like the way factory farming works and the way animals are treated that we eat. It's so bad for us and bad for the environment, and it's expensive. Like, we can't afford it, and a few people get rich while, like, even grocery store employees, they're not getting paid much more. If anything, some of their pay dropped, like they lost their hazard pay. So anyways, all that stuff, it became a lot more real to me, and I wanted to be homeless. Like, I had to know just who I was if I was going to do that. Like, I had to. I can never perfectly form it in words. I don't want to. It's something I can't quite capture in words. But it's like I needed to choose who I was going to be, and I didn't want this to be some hypothetical, like, yeah, here's how you should help homeless people. It was almost like there was a part of me that knew I had to do this as lived witness for how exactly I would survive as a homeless person. And I choose that label, homeless. Unhoused person is respectful too, and some people prefer that. I like calling myself homeless because that was my identity, and it'll always be my identity. In a way, it'll always be part of who I am, and I'm grateful to it, and I owe a debt to it. So those three things happened. I had to get bankruptcy. I was already working a job for 5 months at a warehouse, and able to save a little bit of money. The lawyer for the bankruptcy cost a lot, but it was worth it. And then get the new job, and then also get the $1,200 stimulus payment. So all those things left me with like $70 after I rented my Koreatown apartment, where I stayed for 2 years or so, until the guy I was renting from stopped paying the landlord, and I don't know what else was going on, but it seemed like he was having one big party all the time and did not comprehend the seriousness of what we were going through, and then got evicted from there. And it's only been like a few months, like that was June, I think. Maybe June or maybe July, I was evicted. Or technically he was evicted, the guy we rented from, but we all had to leave. And my time being homeless made me so well prepared for stress, for resilience, because stress has thrown itself at me so much since then. I wouldn't have known how to function being housed. I wasn't functional without what I learned being homeless. How to integrate myself with my body, how to stop dissociating. I don't like to put stop dissociating. Integrating myself into my body as a way of uh, recovering from dissociation. And my daily routine that's productive, that uplifted me. Because if I don't do these things that make me well, get up early, not procrastinate, which I always struggle with, exercise hard, eat well, man, not just eat what, like, just healthy stuff, but knowing I no longer like count all my macronutrients every day, but knowing I want to hit basically a certain amount of proteins, carbs, and fats every day, and learning all that when I was on the Mike O'Hearn meal plan for a while, even though I didn't adhere to that. First of all, I lost like a lot of weight really quickly, and a lot of that was due to stress. I was not eating even enough that the meal plan recommended, and I was physically active a lot. I lost 2 cars, so that was an interesting comparison. One, when I was sleeping in it and someone crashed into it and destroyed it, and I was injured from that and basically couldn't like lift weights for a month. And I got another car, and then that one was destroyed in another hit and run. But it ended up being the best thing for me. I was actually so glad I didn't move somewhere else where the car would have been in a garage, because I'm like, I would still be burdened with that thing. I wouldn't have my beautiful bicycle. I wouldn't have started rollerblading. I'd be stressed out trying to get everywhere in a car, not realizing the joy of active mobility. I loved even walking to that theater last night and back, even though it's a really kind of unpleasant walk. Like that, this area of LA is like not great for pedestrians. It's not well situated or built at all. Tons of cars line the sidewalks. So it's almost like just a chain link of cars blocking the street, and lots and lots of traffic. But even then, I loved being able to walk outside. I'm like, I barely do this anymore. I used to do that all the time in Virginia when there was nowhere to go, and now I have places to go, and I love it. But we got to make LA more navigable by foot, by bike, by bus, by metro. And that means de-emphasizing cars and creating better land use and all that great stuff that I've learned about and in urbanist communities, and become a part of those communities and made friends. And it's just a joy. Like, it's so great to be able to ride my bike and have all these activities to choose from now. In Virginia, if I was like home during a weekend, I felt like everyone else was having fun except me. Only fun to me, even if I went out, it was just trying to escape the desperation I felt and the loneliness I felt, and still not knowing what was going on with this disorder in me that was DPDR, that thankfully is completely recoverable from. I've had it for probably like 18 years, and I'll always have to be vigilant to keep it at bay. But the great thing is, being vigilant means just doing stuff that's good for me. Eating well, being active, being socially active, doing the things I love, engaging in the things I care about. By the way, one of those things, Streets for All, they're great advocacy work. I've met so many great people there. They got these stickers. I collect a bunch every time they have them out. So if you see these around LA, there's a chance I put them up. BDSM, bikes do so much for the environment. I have a shirt that says that too. And they raised a bunch of money selling merchandise like shirts with these BDSM slogans on them. And buses do so much for the environment. So I never knew I could have that kind of life here. It was like a new dream, another new dream. And then rollerblading, even though I haven't had time for that lately, was another new dream. I've also gone through incredible stress. I relapsed in DPDR in November, end of November, like Thanksgiving or the day before Thanksgiving, I think, 2018. I basically did it on video, and it was so scary, so bad. I could not write for 5 months. It was so painful. I couldn't sleep well at all for the first month. I wanted to quit a movie I was on. Thank goodness I did not. Thank goodness. I'm glad I stuck it out, but I could barely function and concentrate, barely sleep. I was in so much pain. But in the end, it made me better. Like, it sort of broke down emotional barriers in me, and I had to recover to be even better. Life worked out the way it did, you know? So as much as there are parts of me that think, man, all that time I just lost in this hole of DPDR and pain and the lingering effects of the religious indoctrination I got when I was a kid, and like not just turning my back on religion and being free from that, which I'm so grateful. I had to change like everything I believed in, which started well before I went homeless, but it really came into focus when I was homeless, and then afterwards. I was raised conservative. I was conservative when I was younger. I had to undo all those beliefs, and I grew up. I learned about the world. I had to respect people. I had to respect myself and say, oh, okay, like, I want good things for people. I believe the world can be better. We have a choice. We can look at this dark history of abuse and exploitation and cruelty and see that the world isn't just the way it is because, like, well, conservatism means like we have to just accept certain rigid, structures in society, and certain people are haves and have-nots, but that we can actually change it and make it better. And there's so much better things that we can have that we didn't know. and that there's so much to be gained by solidarity with our neighbors, with our friends, with our coworkers. And so many of us are just scared to do that and don't know how to do it and expect someone else to save us. And so, for whatever I went through, however, painful it was, and it's not like it wasn't, it was excruciating at times. I would be disabled for a year at a time, and just man, like all of, between being 17 and 18, or yeah, 17 into through 18, I don't even know what it was like to really have those years. And then again at whatever, like 22, yeah, 22, and then 27. It's like, I don't know what it's like to be a 27-year-old. I was sick to the point where I was sleeping sometimes like 45 minutes a night, and I couldn't drive, I couldn't work, I could barely eat some days, and it was the dissociative symptoms. They were so powerful in me. I was like I was disconnected from my own body, from my own hunger, from being able to engage emotionally with people. Like, everyone was emotionally distant, and I was afraid, like almost like everyone was a stranger to me. And I'm so glad even now, as I start to tense up and feel just the slightest not a relapse, but what's the word I use, like little flare-ups, it's not even that, of DPDR, I'm like, oh, I know how to resolve this today. To first acknowledge it, to be present, not to dissociate further by trying to block it out, but saying, oh, okay, I'm dissociating, that's fine. In fact, let me dissociate. Like, that's a way of the body trying to protect itself from trauma or pain, and do the things that are good for me, not running to things to escape, but to be well. So the things I used to do to escape my feelings of DPDR, and again, this is a lot of stuff I just learned and experienced while being homeless and coming out of homelessness, because even coming out of it, I was still coming out of that last relapse of DPDR for many months. I would do things like try and go out, go to bars with friends, go to movies, watch a lot of movies. And I love movies, I always have, but I was trying to escape by watching them. I was trying to use them to fuel my escape, thinking that made me well. And they worked somewhat, but it was always a sad experience for me ultimately. Whereas now, I can go out with friends and I can watch movies and I'm present for them. I'm fully present and they're meaningful. I'm not running from anything. I'm glad I'm right where I am. And I can appreciate people more, and I don't look at people with jealousy anymore. Like on the street, I used to all the time feel that, or just anger. Like, what's that person doing, going to that building or something? Or like, why don't I have friends? Why can't I be out with people? I can't even afford to be out. Like, I have the most miserable negative thoughts. And the vast majority of the time, if a stranger talked to me or something, they would be nice to me. They'd be interested in me. And I couldn't even handle that. So it was a misery sort of my own making, but that was imposed on me too, and I had to understand how to resolve it and recover from it. And being homeless was instrumental in that. Like, I feel like a debt I owe to it, almost like it's a separate thing that just sustains me. I'm so glad for it, almost like it's something that doesn't let me be lonely. It keeps me from being lonely. Having gone through that experience, and met so many people, made so many friends, discovered this whole new dream in LA, because I didn't really know what LA would be like. And as soon as I came here, I loved it. I knew this is the greatest city in the world, and I want to stay here. I want to live here. Not realizing someday that I'd not only be housed, because I had no idea how I would get housed. I'm like, there's no job I'm qualified for that will be enough to get any kind of decent place to live. I have massive credit card debt, got to keep paying for this car. How will I ever do this? Indeed, I was constantly asking that. How am I ever going to get housed? What's that going to be like? And the answer was, it was going to happen without me even realizing it. What I was going to have to do is show up, apply myself properly, put in the effort, and I would find my own way. It wasn't just like effort, because I don't believe hard work just does that. especially when employers don't pay properly and landlords charge too much and there's not enough housing and our jobs and homes are too far apart from each other. And medical care costs too much, food costs too much. There's so many things that, like, our lives could be bettered by if we just prioritized people and not corporate executives for whatever food, housing, because so many landlords here are huge corporations that own thousands of units of property, medical care, or jobs, transportation, cars, like car executives. Did I already say that? I already forget. While the workers for all these people are the ones who are desperately afraid of losing their jobs because they'll lose all that other stuff. They'll lose their car, they'll lose their home, their health care if they have it. A lot of people just don't. And being homeless, it just instilled in me like that I need to find my own way. As many people told me to get housed, it was never even like a concern for me that anyone would tell me get housed. Like, it's nothing I'm going to consider. I wanted this. I actually wanted to stay homeless longer. I wanted to be homeless at least another year. And what happened when I got my job was it was just too complicated, like, and too time consuming, my routine, where I had a job in one part of LA, but the place I slept and got food at, and it was safer for me to sleep in, or that I knew I had viable places to sleep in where I wouldn't be hassled, although it was getting more and more dangerous to do that. And I was having to get increasingly careful about like where I park, which way I face when I park. Like it was really getting sketchy. But having to do all that, it was just getting too time consuming. And I realized, okay, I have to get housed to actually do more now. What I didn't want was to get housed just to have comfort, because I wouldn't have known mentally how to process it. Psychologically, I would have regressed and been depressed again. It was only being homeless that showed me like, well, like it was amazing. I have a home now. I have a couch. Like I have a bathroom. Like what do I do? Like when I moved out of Annandale to Arlington, it was overwhelming to me and it made me dissociate because I thought, oh, I have TV now. I'll watch TV or something. I didn't know what to do. Like I just didn't know what to do. This time I pretty much knew right away. Like I had just a brief thought of like, oh, I can relax. And then I thought, no, I've got to do even more and keep writing and keep working at the things I want more. And I had to learn how to be housed again, basically. Like I kept my sleeping bag for a month. I kept a lot of certain things about my homeless routine for several months, like 6 months or something, where I would drive my car to the food bank on weekends, fill up my water bottles at the park. And keep water bottles in my car in case I ever needed them there. It's only the last few days I got rid of like several of my water bottles because I still had like practically like 2 dozen of them, and I'm like, I don't need this many. And what happened, some of them were sitting so long in the window, they were growing algae in them. So I'm like, okay, get rid of those ones, wash some of the other ones out with soap. But it was just a big adjustment, like mentally for a while. Like the day after I got housed, like I was almost crying driving to work. Like I feel like I betrayed homelessness. Like homelessness itself was such a good thing to me. It gave me so much. It was such a good thing to accompany me, and now I had left it and abandoned it. And for many months I thought I wanted to go homeless again. I miss living in my car. I miss being outside all the time. It was nice not having a job for about less than 2 years of that homelessness, because I worked one place. I was a bouncer for like 5 months after I went homeless, and then the last 5 months of my homelessness I was working at a warehouse. And then I got another job that I got housed with. So that's okay, like a year and a half and no job. That was pretty cool. Now, granted, it's not like I had a lot I could do during that time. Constantly, like, half filling up my gas tank, because I want to make sure I have money to get to the end of the month, get food. Constantly going to the food bank, getting protein bars and oatmeal and filling it in a thermos in my car. So there was a lot. I was doing, showering on the street for 7 months when the gyms closed, when the pandemic came. And that was a beautiful experience. Like, I'm glad I did it. It was something the day before I would have thought was unthinkable. And then once I did it, I'm like, oh, this is absolutely something I can do. And I would shower, and some of you may have seen it, or you'll see it. I filmed myself showering on the street. I did it for months. I was surprised and noticed when I showered again, and I did have a shower sometimes. I showered at a mission while I was working at the warehouse because it was too cold to shower in the at like 1 in the morning in the fall. It was awful. But once I had an apartment and showered, I didn't realize how much cleaner I felt showering with my own shower. And I didn't realize why my razors were wearing out so quickly when I was shaving in my car every day. And I would use a water bottle, squirt it over the razor to clean out, all the gunk in it. Which is that, like, my razors were going bad every few days. They would go so dull. I'm like, what the hell? Has razor quality gone to hell? And by the way, it kind of is anyways, but now my razors last so much longer. They can last weeks, and I shave every single day. I have not missed a single day of shaving since I got housed. And that's part of just my discipline too. Like, I just want to make sure I never let something go like that. But I realized when I can rinse my razors out under the sink, they get a lot cleaner. And as a result, the razors don't get dull faster. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. That's what was going on. And so I'm so grateful to have these things where I know the difference between being housed and being unhoused. I'm grateful for it. Depending on the day, my mood can be mixed about my time being homeless. I can be like, what the hell happened, man? What happened? And get so sad about it. Be like, damn, man, I was homeless for 2.5 years. But it depends on the day, and it depends on what I'm doing and how well I'm doing. Lately, I've been thinking I want to do this video because I'm so glad for it. It keeps giving to me. Like, what a great thing to have. It keeps giving to me and preventing me from being lonely. Now I have to do other things too. It's not like I just sit and, think how good it feels to have been homeless and been through those. Like, it's like as long as I'm still like honoring that thing that happened, I'm still putting in lots of effort every day. I'm still working for the things I want, being well, choosing wellness, living well, being healthy, having a good social life, having the things that I literally didn't think were possible before. Because of my DPDR, because of my religious indoctrination, I thought, well, like, I don't know, God, I'm cursed or something, or God wants to destroy me. I literally didn't know why I couldn't function right, why I would dissociate so much and go numb. I couldn't experience my life. Being around people, I was constantly on guard to sort of keep my emotions intact so I could feel them, and it didn't work, and I would constantly dissociate. And it was scary and painful, and especially like if I was around a girl I liked or with a girl I liked, like that was so overwhelming. Like just the emotions, like it's like I would dissolve like salt and I couldn't feel anything. And that was horrifying. I'm like, so I can't even feel anything good. Like I just go completely numb. And not just numb, like I feel remote and distant and scared, and that's the depersonalization and derealization. So being homeless ended up being instrumental in a lot of ways, and it will be something with me for the rest of my life. And I can always say, for anyone who's glad they met me, whatever your thoughts on homeless people are, whatever you think of them or homelessness, if you like me, if you get along with me, then you owe a karmic debt to my time being homeless, because that time being homeless made me who I am now. And it's what allows me to be well around others and to do the things I do and contribute and to feel the like things that I got to rephrase that. To have these new dreams I didn't know I could have, and also to do the thing I love most, writing, screenwriting specifically, to where even if if my mood crashes, which is very rare, but it can happen, very rare. Like I think like I've remembered it twice or maybe 3 times happening in the last year, maybe longer. I know now the difference in how to address it versus how I did before. Before, I'd just be like, I'm screwed. I don't know what to do. I would try and put effort into stuff, exercise, clean my car or whatever, clean my room, hang out with a friend, hang out with Moist Andy, and I still felt so desperate and crushed and lonely and miserable. Now I know, don't try and deal with the symptoms. Like, don't try and seek pleasure. Change my bodily state. Signal to my body that I'm well. That can mean being physically active, but also means engaging my body, being present, acknowledging what I'm feeling, and get to writing. If I write as bad as down low as I went, it'll instantly flip me back up, or near instantly flip me back up. A feeling I didn't think was possible in the seconds before that happened. And that's the thing, in the moments that darkness comes to me, I can see no future. It never feels like things will get better. I never feel like I'll improve. But once, like, but I know now, don't wait for yourself to feel better for symptoms. Choose something good for you. Choose wellness. Not just good in some vague generic sense, just watch a video, be happy. No, like, choose to write. That's one of the biggest things for me. Even though I'm like, oh, but I want to watch a video. I feel lonely, like I feel exposed. I want to watch something to sort of comfort me. Choose to write. Choose to forego that instant gratification. And then it's like something opens up in me that allows so much more room for goodness. And then I can have the thing that I enjoy, whatever, watch a video. It'll have its place and it'll be meaningful, as opposed to just an escape and a chance to dissociate again. So, hard lessons to learn. But I suppose, how else am I going to look at it other than it couldn't have happened any other way? It needed to happen this way, and I'm grateful for it. So it's something that gave me something that keeps giving, that I can keep giving. And that's what I see now, looking back on 2.5 years housed. I'm excited now, like, to cross this threshold and 2.5 years homeless. For so long, I had known more homelessness, at least in the last 5 years, than being housed. And now I will know being housed more than being homeless. But I'm doing more work than I've ever done before. I'm doing more things that I enjoy than ever before. I'm busier than ever before. And I'm like, I can't believe how different every day is. And that's what depressed me so much before I went homeless, was every day just feel like, oh, I wish today was better. Oh, I wish today was better. Oh, I wish I didn't procrastinate so much today. I wish I didn't feel so crappy today. I can't go back to my job another day. I can't do this routine another day. I would come out of my job as a bouncer at like 2 or 3 in the morning on Saturday nights. And instead of driving home, I would call my mom and drive to her house and talk to her like on her front lawn for an hour, because I was so depressed. I didn't want to go home. And I'd be like, Mom, I don't know how long I can keep doing this. Like, how can I keep doing this? And I'm grateful for those moments too, because it meant I was trying something. I was going for something. It would add up to something someday. And those were special moments. And of course, she was going to get up anytime to support me, as much as she won't necessarily make it easy for me. Well, she knows if I'm in trouble, like, she'll talk to me, like if I'm feeling in trouble. But otherwise, she'll tell me off for all the things you've seen in videos. Just yell at me. But she would always like go out and meet me, or sometimes she would have leftover food, give me food when I'd go to her place at like 3 in the morning. But that's the thing. Eventually, that time had to end and I had to go back home, and I was like, man, I don't want to do it. How am I going to do this another day? And now that's not a question. As bad as things have gotten sometimes. So I've gone through major stresses with my roommates, with a roommate terrorizing me, with another roommate being abusive, with a guy sexually harassing me for 6 months. That was a living hell. And all the fallout from that, I got to pick what makes me well. That's all I can say in response to that, is sort of drop it off. Now it'll well up in me and stuff, so that's a part of what I have to be vigilant about and try and recover from. But that's how I'll choose, not how it'll happen to me, but how I'll choose to look at my time being homeless versus being housed. Yeah. And there's a lot of great things I got from it. And as my perspective changes, it's like I get more elevation from that time being homeless. That was like the realest thing in my life, being homeless. That experience was so indelible. A lot of other things I kind of forget or I don't have strong memories of, but that was just indelible to me. And I can smile when I think of that, even though there were very painful times. I was dissociated. I was lonely. I was broke as hell. It is sad being broke. I was so sad about that. Sometimes I would want to cry in the grocery store. And I can look at it now with this greater elevation and see, oh, it's this wonderful gift, this package that was given to me that I have, that I'll always have, that just keeps sustaining me. I can keep drawing from, not in a way of like just fixating on it or whatever, but it's sort of, it chases me. When I choose wellness, it reflects on me something about that experience where I'm like, oh, what a wonderful thing. A painful, difficult, wonderful thing. So today I'm glad to say, yeah, I'm sitting out the big bike ride today, as much as I would love to do that on the Arroyo Seco Parkway. I did a bunch of writing this morning for my screenwriting class. I'm going to read more. Right now I'm reading John Kiriaku's Doing Time Like a Spy. Man, some harrowing stuff in here. Whew. And probably watch a movie today. And I'm already looking forward to like the next thing and like the next place I'm going to live in. Because I won't live here always. This was kind of a compromise for me. I had to move quickly a few times, actually. And I'm settled here for now, but I'm like, oh, good. There's going to be another place at some point. And I'm going to keep doing and keep choosing to be well. And I hope to make more videos. It's just, I'm so busy, which I'm so glad for. It's like great. It's like it's just great. What else can I say? Other than LA has been a dream. Not just, it was the dream I wanted when I chose to come here, but it was a dream I didn't know I could have. It's also all these other things too. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you watched this far, click like, subscribe, and share with a friend.